Kids in the Bible. The twice saved boy. Some powerful people might ignore kids, but God doesn't. He sees and loves every kid, and lots of stories in the Bible prove it. In one story, God saved the same boy twice through his prophet Elijah. A prophet was someone who spoke God's truth, and God's people were supposed to listen carefully to the prophet's words and believe them. That means prophets had to listen carefully to God. God told a prophet named Elijah to go to a place called Zarephath. The city was suffering from a drought, which means it hadn't rained in a long time, so food wasn't growing, and people everywhere were hungry, including Elijah. Elijah needed to eat. God told him that he'd command a widow, a woman whose husband had died in Zarephath, to feed Elijah. You would think God would send Elijah to a rich widow who had a giant pantry with an epic snack stash. But he didn't. He sent Elijah to a woman who was struggling to feed herself and her son. When Elijah arrived in Zarephath and asked her for food, she said, "I only have enough flour and oil for one last meal for me and my son. I'm going to make this meal, and then we will die." What a scary day for this boy and his mom. But God had a plan. He sent Elijah to this woman and this boy on purpose. Through the widow, God would save Elijah, and through Elijah, God would save the widow once and the child twice. Only God can pack so much saving in one story. Elijah listened to God and said to the woman, "Don't be afraid. Make a meal for me and then make something for you and your son. God has promised that your jar of flour and jug of oil will not be empty until it rains again." The young boy watched weakly as his mother did what Elijah said. As his tummy growled, he probably thought, "Wow, my mom must really believe this prophet's words. After all, she was giving away their last meal." He must have been amazed by what happened next. Day after day, the food ingredients did not run out. The boy ate every day and grew stronger. This prophet really had spoken God's truth, and the boy and his mother had incredible proof that God had seen them, provided for them, and loved them. This boy was saved by God, and it wouldn't be the last time. Sadly, the boy later became ill and died. His mother was devastated. She carried his body to Elijah and cried, "Man of God, what do you have against me?" With great concern, Elijah took the boy and cried out to God 3 times, begging God to bring the boy back to life. It was an impossible ask, but nothing is impossible with God. Right? God listened to Elijah, and guess what? The boy lived again. When the widow held the twice saved boy in her arms, and she knew Elijah truly was God's prophet, only the true God would have the eyes to see, the heart to love, and the power to save a boy, not once, but twice. The twice saved boy was just a kid, but he was a reminder of God's special plan to bless the whole world. Every kid can experience God's saving power, although it doesn't always look like we think. Sometimes God doesn't save us from terrible things, but He's offered us savings from the most terrible things, sin and death. God's Son, Jesus, took the punishment we deserve for our sin by dying on the cross. And like the twice-saved boy, Jesus did not stay dead, but came back to life through God's power. It's true. Any kid or grown-up who looks to Jesus can be saved from sin because Jesus took the punishment. And they can be saved from death because Jesus promised that even when their body dies, they can live forever with Him. Dear God, thank you for seeing me, loving me, and giving your Son, Jesus, so that I can be saved from the most terrible things, sin and death. Amen.